I had this realization that me and my wife must share citizenship somewhere, full stop. Because they have any of these countries, you're a guest there as a resident rather than having a passport. And when you talk about these changes and like the safety and whatnot, me and my wife are very much so looking at South America and some of those different areas. Haven't dove as deep as I probably will after this conversation into Mexico, but I think it's been kind of like a secret, but like a open secret about Panama being amazing. Obviously, you have Melee. I probably messed his Melee. Down in Argentina making big moves in a very short amount of time. The data coming out of there is like, man, this can be fixed very quickly if you just let up off the gas on some of this totalitarianism, right? And just chill out and let people do their thing. But you're seeing this, it sounds like to me that Mexico is a big player in that realm. So not just the Panamas, the Belize.
Yeah, the two bright are there. I have three bright stars, I think, for Latin America. So I would put Mexico at number one, probably El Salvador at number two, and Argentina at number three. And the reason for Argentina at number three is they've went through some of the worst, economic times that are imaginable, and they suffered at the hands of extreme socialism. So now, like in the U.S., most of your younger generation are socialist or communist, and they vote that way. In Argentina, because they've suffered for so many years with all these social programs and wasteful government spending, that the younger generations are the conservative. They're more conservative than the older generations. So that's telling me that this type of government is probably going to be in place for another 50 years or more in Argentina, and so things should continue to get better. I think Malay has like cut the bleeding, so to speak. There's a lot of room for improvement, but when I was in Argentina, it was interesting because even though because I was just in Argentina a couple of weeks ago, actually like a week ago, and you wouldn't really know. I mean, you still had people out there spending money, shopping. I mean, it wasn't like a ghost town. I mean, it was pretty. I was in Cordoba, and I heard, I've heard Buenos Aires is even, more active. But people are still going to dinner. People are going to parties. People are shopping. I mean, it wasn't as bad now as what you would think. So it's already getting a lot better. But you can get really good deals on property there right now as well. So property is never going to be as cheap in Argentina as it is right now because they've had so much inflation. And then number two, El Salvador. I don't know if what's funny is I always say that if you're in the United States, there's like a shield across Mexico, and you never hear of what's going on south of the border unless it's a negative, cartel type issue, or then they explode that all over the world news. But in El Salvador, they had the highest homicide rate in the world, like by far, it was the highest homicide rate in the world. They now have one of the lowest homicide rates in the world. So their homicide rate in El Salvador, I think, is like one third or less than what the U.S. reports. And they did that because the new president signed an executive order and essentially put everybody in prison that had a gang tattoo. And within a very short time frame, crime disappeared. And so, so that's another area where property values are very depressed because you've had so many years of, criminal activity going on, and now all of that's changing, and so you have really good property values there, and things are going to continue to look better for them. And they've also this new president in El Salvador invested heavily government money heavily in crypto, and they now have enough crypto dollars to pay off their Federal Reserve and get rid of the Federal Reserve. Which, if the U.S. could ever get rid of the Federal Reserve, that would be a big accomplishment. So not having the Federal Reserve to run people into debt all the time would be a big deal.
Including the U.S. government. But so then what you're seeing with these stars, right? These three North Stars that you had mentioned, is a long history of not going in the right direction and then very quickly turning that around for improvement. Do you see America doing now? There are certain inevitabilities, but I can't stress enough, if America would give up their hegemonic superpower and choose freedoms wisely, they'll gain that superpower back in 2 generations, maybe faster. And it's just, we've seen this time and time again, going back to that example of Captain America, what can happen when people are inspired, not tearing it down, the builders, right? And do you see America turning it around, or do you see it as an inevitability?
So I think the United States has two problems. So when you look at the financial data for the United States and you compare it to Argentina, it's actually worse in the United States. The only thing that's keeping it propped up is this reserve currency status that they still have. And so I think the drug addiction stuff could be managed or fixed. I think the moral decay that we're seeing, like I'm sure you've seen the videos, especially in California, where people are going in and looting, stores, and then stores are closing up, and cities are turning into ghost towns. And even in like rural Ohio, you have to worry about, they call them meth heads breaking into your house, or people addicted to, pain pills breaking into your house to steal stuff that they can sell. And so I think those are fixable for sure. I think. I mean, it would take a completely different, set of, enforcement of laws, we'll just say. But I think all of that's fixable. What I don't think is fixable is the debt that the United States has, and once they lose that petrodollar, it's going to be it's going to be holy hell in the United States. So yes, they can fix the moral issues, they can fix the criminal stuff, the drug addiction, I think, but I don't see. Maybe there's somebody smarter than me that says, oh no, this is how you solve for a debt that's 6 times your GDP. But I don't know how you do that. I really don't. I know people. The way you do it is you inflate the dollar so that the dollar is worth essentially 1/20th of the value. So then your debt is worth 1/20th of the value, right? You can do it that way, or you can, kill everybody over the age of 65 that's drawing Social Security, and that would save you 150 trillion. So outside of killing the older population, or inflating the dollar, I don't see any other alternatives to get out of that debt issue. But maybe somebody smarter than me has a better solution. I don't know. I've heard people say, well, the military will force people to use U.S. dollars. It's like, I don't see that happening. So there's another conspiracy theory in the U.S. that Clinton signed some executive order into law that allows all of the Federal Reserve debt to be washed away. So essentially what that means is anybody that has any kind of loan, whether it's a car loan, home loan, business loan, all of that goes away. Okay, then that helps a lot, but you're still 185 trillion in debt with the federal debt and the Social Security. So those, I don't see how to get out of that.
What's going on, guys? If you like that clip right there, you will love the full interview. You can check that out right there. I'll see you on the next video. Oh, and subscribe, because we got a lot of big things coming up in the near future.